Hello, I wanted to show you my newest model kit. This is the Wolfman, brought to us today by Polar Lights. This is the Wolfman as portrayed by Lon Chaney Jr. and it was a really nice figure. It is sculpted entirely by the great Randy Bowen, currently of Bowen Designs. I started off with the base as usual, so I can then move on to the figure and complete them and put them on the base. The base I painted up flat black first, working on the dirt and the stones with a couple of washes, and I added the green you see there. That's actual diorama foliage with glue. I moved on to the branches themselves and painted them up a orange color, then a little bit of black, and then my final brown color on top of them. The skull itself there was supposed to go in the back area here, but I didn't really like that, so I took some of my AV's epoxy sculpt and filled in the area between the rock and the tree branch, and then when it was a little bit dry, I put water on the skull and then pushed it into the clay and then let the clay dry so I could have the skull in front where you actually see the front of the figure. I then sculpted in all the cracks and gaps with AV's epoxy sculpt. Once again, that's stuff I love and highly recommend. While I'm on this subject, the figure itself, the Wolfman came with no claws or toenails on his feet at all, and I didn't think that looked right, so I sculpted each individual toenail separately and then applied it, waited for it to dry, and then painted it up, and it turned out pretty well. I was pretty happy with how they looked. This is my first attempt at a Wolfman figure. I had never done one before. It turned out very well. I've never painted fur on a model kit, and that was a lot of fun to do, of course, to stretch and grow and try something new. The figure himself, I broke him down into sub-assemblies and attacked him that way in my painting, doing the feet, the hands, and then the head, then working on the rest of the body just because it was easier to paint that way. The fur was painted with a dark base coat, and then I worked from dark to light in the fur applications, and the skin was a lighter brown than the fur, and it turned out very well. It was a little tricky to paint the collared shirt area here, so what I ended up doing was, in that area, I used a product which is like a liquid masking tape, and I painted it into the V shape here, went all around the head up to the chin area, and then this area here was wrapped in tinfoil and taped. And what that allowed me to do is it allowed me to spray paint the upper body while masking this area here without worrying about the spray paint hitting it. That also allowed me to get into the collar at an angle and spray paint without damaging or covering my prior paint job on the fur. Once I was satisfied with that, I moved on to the pants themselves. These are two colors I'm very, very fond of. This is Tester's Intermediate Blue and Tester's Flat Dark Aircraft Gray. These are two colors I really, really like. The belt was just black, flat black, along with the toenails. The toenails were painted Mars black, along with the toenails, fingernails on the hands. Once I was happy with the figure, I came in and painted his teeth with a toothpick, and I picked out his eyes with a dirty white, and then I hit the centers of them. The fur, once I was happy with that, I used a couple of different variations and dragged my paintbrush across the fur like that to bring out the highlights, just to highlight some of the different fur textures after a darker wash was applied. I also did some seam work on the head here. I'm working on getting my seam work perfected, and I gave the entire figure a wash of dark rubber color and a black wash. This worked particularly well on the fur areas themselves and the pants. Once I was happy with the washes, I came into the pants and spray painted some of my flat dark aircraft gray in a cup, and then I highlighted certain areas on the pants with a brush I then threw away, and that was just to highlight certain areas, as areas which are closer to you are lighter. So I dragged my paintbrush along all the raised areas here to highlight them and get them to pop a little bit. I then went in and hit the entire figure and base with Tester's dull coat to seal everything and protect it all from handling and keep the paint from getting disturbed or damaged. And my final piece was I came in with some Tester's clear and put it on each eyeball just to get the eyes to have a glossy look to them as real eyes do. And it was a nice figure, very, very detailed, and I guess he took me about 3 weeks to do. I also want to show you the great box art for the Wolfman here, which is done by the great Chris White. No surprise there. And yeah, it looks really cool. And that was my Wolfman figure. First one I've ever done. Well, I thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.